Right, let's have a look at this number 50. Here's the psalm, and you can see better the you don't have those nuns on the end of the other verses as you do here. And then 13 verses later we have it again. So we have 6 and then a 7th, and the 7th day is separate from the others because this Sabbath is a separate day. The Sabbath represents the end goal of everything, and so it's on its own. So Nun is the 14th letter. Oops, a little bit out of sequence here. The Nun contains the Vav. This is the word Nun spelt. It's Nun, Vav, Nun. The final Nun looks like an extended Vav. So Joshua ben Nun has a lot of Vavs in him. The Vav is related to Levi. Levi comes from the word to attach. Therefore will my husband be attached to me. Because the Vav connects. If you want to connect a sentence together, you have and in the front of it, the Vav. So Levi is to connect Israel. He's about connection. And actually Satan came from the tribe of Levi is Leviathan. From a previous creation. That's what Adam's all about. He's about a previous Adam, if you like, that couldn't hold the light. So within the Nun is a Vav, right here. Within the Nun is Vav. And the Vav is really this, is related to the serpent, Leviathan. And why is that? In this world we think of snakes as bad, and with regard to Satan and his angels, they are bad. But Levi is related to the Kohanim are related to a tan as well. Remember, they put their rod down, it becomes a serpent. In the Hebrew it says it turns into a nachash, and it turns into a tan. It says that it uses those two words interchangeably. And the house of David is also likened unto a nachash, a serpent. The house of Judah is a lion, but within the house of Judah is a serpent, and that is the house of David. And both, so the serpent is about kingship and priesthood. The problem in this creation, when Satan fell to his lower nature. So instead of being divine, he became just a serpent. Yeah, his lower nature was ruling over him. If I'm from Judah, I'm a lion, but all I do is go around roaring about and devouring people, so to speak. If I'm not following God's commandments, all I am is a lion. If I'm Ephraim and I'm just bull-headed and I'm going to do it my way, I'm just a bull. But so when we fall, we go after our lower nature. And that's essentially what the problem with Satan and the problem with Esau. Esau lives by the sword, but so does David. But there's a difference. David has beautiful eyes. David controls the sword. But with Esau, the sword controls Esau. That's the difference. And with Satan, he was Halal ben Shachar. He was the shining one, son of the morning. But he's not that anymore. He's fallen. And he's raised back up as the adversary, as the dragon. And so he's become a tinkling cymbal, a resounding gong. He has no love. He has no connection. He's actually disconnected. And the only thing he can manage to do in all the universe is to disconnect everybody else. So the very one that was about connection is now about disconnection. So Joshua ben Nun, he contains the seed. And God is doing a replacement program, essentially, with the angels that fell. Vashti is being thrown out and Esther is being moved into residence. One queen of heaven is being cast down and another one is rising up. Now, when I say queen of heaven, that's the kingdom. Malkut is queen or queens. So I'm not talking about worshipping the queen of heaven. I'm saying that's what the bride is, ultimately. She's the consort, or she's the spouse of the groom, which is the Mashiach, Yahweh. Okay, so Nun is related to Joshua ben Nun. Nun is related to the seed of God and the Shekinah, the feminine presence of Elohim present in creation, the seed of the woman. So we have a battle between two vavs, or two nuns. We have the Satan, and here we have Satan contains nuns in his name, a nun in his name. The Nachash contains a nun, and we have a battle between two seeds, two lots of nuns, two vavs, the seed of God and the seed of Satan, the seed of the serpent and the seed of the woman. And the seed of the woman is everyone that keeps the commandments of God and the testimony of Yeshua. Psalm 145 is an acrostic psalm. We don't have time to get into it. Each verse begins with the next letter in the alphabet from Aleph to Tav, and there's a few psalms like this one. However, in this psalm, there's no verse that begins with a nun. So the first verse begins with an Aleph, the second with a Beit, and it goes on and on. But when you get to nun, there's no nun. There's no verse that begins with nun. But the next verse, Samak, actually has a nun in it. It has a nun in the verse, and it's nafal, to fall. And this is why the nun isn't included. It's related to the fall. Something has fallen. Not just the watchers, and not just the Nephilim, there's something else that fell, and that's Zion. And that's what's being raised up. And this is what's in the water, and it's got to be rescued and lifted up out of the water. It's interesting, the name Zion also has a nun in it. So nun means fish in Aramaic. There's a number of words that have nuns in it. Nefesh begins with a nun. Neshama, the very thing, so nefesh is soul. Neshama, what God breathed into Adam's nostril, begins with a nun. Nun often falls off in front of a word when other prefixes are added. Nun is about things that are hidden, even as fish are hidden in the water. The nun is in the water. The letter before nun is mem, related to mayim, water. And the nun is what's hidden in the water. Leviathan, the Leviathan, is hidden in the water. And in a way, Messiah is the opposite of Leviathan. He's like a serpent also. In fact, he came to earth and he was lifted up between heaven and earth as a serpent, which is priesthood. Yes, it represents sin, but it represents priesthood as well. Nun means to give, and Nathan, to give, Tan. And actually that's what the serpent is supposed to do. It's supposed to give. And that's what we see on the cross. Yeshua gives by letting go of life. And it's only by letting go of life that we can gain life. And I think that's how the economy of heaven works, is that we give with no thought of being paid. That's supposed to say Nashim, but I got some problem with the PowerPoint presentation. Woman begins with a nun. Nakiva, female, begins with a nun. Nachash, serpent, begins with a nun. Nephilim, fallen ones, begins with a nun. So all these things are related. Netzach, victory. If you read the Psalms, it says to the conductor, but it it also means to the victor. Lam netzach, to the victor. So if you want victory, you have to be one that reads the Psalms and lives them, because we're in a struggle. Noach found chen ba'ayanai Adonai. Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. And it's interesting that the word Noach reversed is the word chen. So Noach found chen. Chen. And with Noah there was a new beginning. So Nun is, you can see that the female is very much related to Nun. Both the plural word for women is Nashim. Sadly the mem doesn't appear there. And Nakiva, female. And it's related to Nachash. That's why the Nachash went to the woman. She's more like him in a sense. In some sense. Thus, Nun is related to the counting of the Omer, grain, fruitfulness, and reproduction. And Nun, remember the numeric value of Nun is 50. By the way, it's the 14th letter, and 14 is the numeric value of David. Dalet, Vav, Dalet. 4 plus 6 plus 4 is 14. So it's the 14th letter, but it has a numeric value of 50. And Nun is related to the counting of the Omer, because we have 50 in the counting of the Omer. So this psalm with the sea and ships with the 7 Nuns is pointing not only to creation, but the middle feast is Pentecost, and it's preceded by the 50 days counting. So the middle feast is related to that seed, because it's counting the Omer, that's seed. Omer is seed. This is what this whole struggle is about. This whole struggle of 7,000 years is about seed, and the seed is in the water, and it's got to get out of the water. It's got to be lifted up. It's got to be raised. Haman's gallows were 50 amahs high, 50 cubits high, because Haman wanted to destroy the seed. He wanted to destroy all the Jews. He wanted to destroy Israel. It's because Haman is the same name as the manna, the ha-min, and min means species. So the manna represents the species of God, the Yeshua, the bread from heaven. Okay, you've got to eat of his flesh. He's that new species. Haman represents another species, ha-min, another manner of manna, the other seed. And he's trying to destroy Mordecai the Jew with a gallows 50 amahs cubits high. Haman represents Satan also. He's an Amalekite from Agag. In 2 Kings 1:9 we read that there are 3 captains in their 50s that come to arrest Elijah. Well, that, by the way, that comes to 153. Remember, we looked at the number 153. 3 captains in their 50s, it's 153. The 50 is related to captains and leaders. So the middle feast is about a leader. The Pentecost is about a leader that's going to be born. Pentecost. Who's that leader? Well, it's related to when the law comes down. It's related to Israel. It's related to the seed of the woman. Who is that seed? Yes, it's Mashiach, but it's more than that. Isaiah 3:3, 50 is related to the captain. Putting all this together, the Nun is related to the birth of the prophetic leader, a captain. The whole purpose of creation is this seed of the woman. We are part of the seed because, according to Revelation 12, the remnant of her seed are those that keep the commandments of God and the testimony of Yeshua. That's the seed of God. That's the Nun. That's the Vav. But there is another sort of Nun, an inverted Nun. And what is all this about? Let's have a look at that. I've talked about that. So there's the normal looking Nun up there, and there's the inverted Nun. It's turned around. And there are only 2 chapters where we have the inverted Nun, in Numbers and in Psalm 107, which we've already seen. So what does the inverted Nun signify? And it came to pass when the ark set forward that Moses said, "Rise up, O Lord, and let thine enemies be scattered, and let them that hate thee flee before thee." Here's the first inverted Nun in the Bible. And when it rested, he said, "Return, O Lord, unto the many thousands of Israel." There's the inverted Nun. So we know that the river Alpha Israel, that's a coded thing also about Manasseh and Ephraim, firstborn, because it talks about the river Vot, the thousands of Manasseh and tens of thousands of Ephraim and so forth.